Yeah. Big tune. Big tune. Open your eyes, man. You know what I'm saying? Yo. Man, it feels like it's a different vibe tonight, you know what I'm saying? Quiet, smooth, you know what I'm saying? Not loud.
What are you trying to say?
Yeah, what man, it's just no. It's like something or someone is missing. I'm not sure, but I'll get back to you until.
Right, we're not trying to get into that.
You know what I'm saying?
Anyways, EIP family, what's going on? You know what it is. It's your boy Rooms. You know, we're back in the building. I know Mr. IM and Gems came in and rescued the day once again. You know what I mean? But I'm here, you know, stuck in traffic. But yo, today's gonna be a good day. You know what I mean? Obviously we have a good topic. You know what I mean? We're gonna be talking about black mental health. Black male mental health. It's been a long time. And it'll tie into the marriage part as well too, because I know most of us is married and whatnot. So it's gonna be a good topic, right? We're gonna really chop it up as men, you know, brother. King Court edition. You know what I mean? So yo, it's gonna be really dope. You know what I mean? So I know how Miss Doreen, so we have to big up Miss Doreen. I know she's not here, but
shout out to Miss Doreen.
You know what I mean? She realizes a King Court edition. She doesn't want to jump in and show us all up. You know what I mean? So she's just like, you know what, I'll stay at home this time. So
I appreciate
big up Miss Doreen.
Appreciate that.
You know what I mean? But we'll still carry on her little legacy that she always does, right? Saying like, hey, listen, how was your week? You know what I mean? It's long weekend, you know. Friday tomorrow, you know what I mean? And then Easter Monday. But yo, James, how was your week?
You know, it's give thanks, man. You know, it's been a decent week. I felt the week actually went by. It didn't drag. It just went by. Like, you know what I mean? And you know, I want to just touch on something a little quickly here about the week. You know, quickly. We had there was a domino tournament over the week.
High table,
like, you know, shout out to the high table, shout out to Mr. IM and Mr. Jason. You know, they did their thing. I'm just want to point something out, because you know, me and Mr. Rooms had to represent for Mr. IM. You know, and you know, I'm just saying, Jason, you gotta come correct next time. Like, can't be a host and not making it past the first round. You know what I mean? Catching a 6 and all. Just have to put it out there. You know what I mean? Just want to put it out there.
Just calling them out.
Well, I had to, because I'm saying this because he called into the show, and when we're conducting a beautiful show, he had to interrupt it with the God of Domino, and the Mr. God of Domino had to get real humbled real quick.
Peasant.
You know what I mean?
He got held in.
You know what I mean? The man had to take a humble 6.
But you know what the joke is like, I looked over at the table and I see this man sweating.
Yeah.
And he looked like a bumper car, man.
Oh man. But once again, we don't want to tie up too much on that. So, you know what I mean?
But I just wanted to point that out there.
Point it out. Okay.
That's it. You know.
Right.
So represent for team Mr. IM, so you already know what it is.
Yeah.
Wicked. Mr. IM, how was your week, man?
My week was it was like Jam said, man. It went by kind of quick, you know. It was like almost like a blur. But I have a long weekend, so I'm off Friday, and then the weekend, and on Monday. So I'm giving God thanks. I need that. And then you know, having pets in the home change your dynamics a little bit. so it's like you have to wake up in the morning and walk them, feed them, and all that. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, that was different. You know what I'm saying? I mean, usually used to me and my wife, but now we have pets, and it's interesting. But
you said pets or
pets?
Pet?
Yeah, dog and a cat.
Right.
Shout out to Evie and Milo. They're a cat and dog, and they're sisters. They're close. So I mean, but I mean, it's other than that, man, work was good. And once again, I wanted to shout out to like Gems and my boy Rooms. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, to represent. But I don't want to get into it, like he said.
Right.
What about you, Rooms? How you doing, man?
You know what? Once again, piggybacking off of Gems. It was a quick week, bro. It was a quick week. Not complaining, because you know it's work. You can't complain. So hopefully the week is quick and the weekend is slower, you know what I mean? That would be a great weekend on that. You know what I mean? But it was good. As I said, it wasn't too bad. Once again, work is work. You know what I mean? Yeah. This week, big up my daughter. You know, and my wife. You know, because we're potty training her now. You know what I mean? And she's doing really good. So you know what I mean? So big up the missus that is at home. But you know what I mean? It was good. And once again, I'm not trying to jump into the whole domino thing, but we represented. Yeah, man. You know what I mean? Kind of tied into the conversation that's kind of coming up. Which we do have our guests in the building. You know what I mean? So we will take a quick little break, and then we'll kind of get into it. But tying into that, at work we did talk. Some of my brethren at work, which is black males. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We did got into deep conversations about like just mental health. You know what I mean? Okay. We did do a show about mental health before, long time ago. You know what I mean? So we're kind of bringing it back, which I once again know tying to marriages, dating, the whole works. But tonight we're talking about marriage as well into it. And man, it got deep. It was actually deep where one of my brethren like seemed like he was about to cry. You know what I mean? Because he really felt it. You know what I mean? So it could have been something at home. You know what I mean? It could be something that's probably going on that we don't know, especially as black male. We don't share. We don't open up. We don't have that you could say support or group. You know what I mean, by other black males. You know what I mean. But we'll get into that as I said a little bit later. As I said, we got our guests in the building and go from there. So once again, we'll take a quick little commercial break. We'll get the guests in here to introduce themselves. You know what I mean, and then we'll kind of get right into the topic.
All right, man.
All right.
Stay tuned, guys.
All right.
You're listening to iLive Radio.
Are you a music entrepreneur searching for the perfect place to fuel your creativity? Look no further. Welcome to CoLab, the ultimate co-working space designed exclusively for music professionals like you. Are you tired of battling distractions, cramped spaces, and a lack of inspiration? It's time to discover the CoLab difference, a dynamic co-working space tailor-made for your musical aspirations. At CoLab, we understand the unique needs of music entrepreneurs. We've created an environment where collaboration, innovation, and success harmonize perfectly. Collaboration is the key, right? That's why we've built a vibrant community of like-minded music entrepreneurs. Network, share ideas, and collaborate with talented individuals who can take your music to new heights. Need a break from the creative process? Take advantage of our relaxation zones, where you can recharge, connect with fellow musicians, or simply unwind with a cup of freshly brewed coffee. CoLab isn't just a workspace, it's a catalyst for success. Our expert mentors provide guidance, industry insights, and invaluable connections that help you navigate the ever-changing music landscape. And the best part? Our flexible membership plans are designed to fit your budget and schedule. Choose from part-time or full-time access, so you can focus on what you do best, making extraordinary music. Join the revolution of music entrepreneurship at CoLab, the ultimate co-working space for music professionals. Ignite your creativity, collaborate with fellow trailblazers, and let your music soar to new heights. Don't miss out on this extraordinary opportunity. Visit our website at colabto.org or email us at info@colabto.org to schedule your personalized tour of CoLab today. CoLab, your path to musical greatness starts here.
You're listening to iLive Radio, changing the way you listen to radio. iLive Radio.
Attention à tous les musiciens, groupes, associations, clubs et organisations qui représentent les styles collectifs de musique à travers le Canada. Le moment est venu de reconstruire nos genres de nations musicales collectives comme le hip-hop, le R&B, le jazz, le soul, le reggae, le gospel et plus unis. La Nation de la musique collective est une organisation à but non lucratif engagée dans le développement de la musique collective. Des adhésions gratuites sont disponibles dès maintenant. La Nation de la musique collective, une seule voix, la force dans l'unité.
So yeah, we're back. We're back, and we got our guests here. We're gonna quickly have them introduce themselves, starting with my right or me your Gems is right. Okay, all right. And these guys are familiar with the show. You know what I'm saying? But just reintroduce and we'll go from there.
No problems. It's me again. Y'all know me, Preacher. I think this is probably my third time to be here. Whoops. Probably my third time on this show, and I love the opportunity when I get a chance to have a conversation with you all. I think I was here when you were dealing with some kind of relationship. I was here the finances part. So I'm just happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Yes, you will.
My name is G, second time on the show as well.
Yes.
I'm a black man like my brothers. A qualifier, I meet the criteria. Married too, and man, I'm looking forward to the discussion, learning from the gents and maybe from some of you at home as well.
So, once again, I'm coming in. The topic is black men, mental health, you know what I mean? And it ties into marriage too. Most of us, Jem soon, you know what I mean? Is married, you know what I mean? And I definitely know that Rubes, go through a lot as well too, you know what I mean? And sometimes we bring that home. So it's not necessarily starts at home. Sometimes it could be outside, it could be work, the whole works, and then we bring whatever headaches or trouble home, and then, you know what I mean, and then we kind of get a little breakdown. But before we actually get the conversation started, I do have something up here as well too about black male mental health kind of thing. Okay, so really and truthfully, what it says is that black men, right, are often diagnosed with severe mental illness. That's what they're saying, right? And they're underdiagnosed for mood-related disorders, right? So like depression, anxiety, and most likely in the world, it's almost like society or doctors, the whole works, doesn't really medicate us or come to our to what our needs or our aid, right? Because they just think it is what it is. Suck it up, something's wrong with you guys, which is not so. So really, it's like 5 to 10%, right, of black males, and it could be higher, you know what I mean, that goes through this and don't speak up and talk or don't do anything about it, and kind of go through this craziness, right, that they think is normal for us, you know what I mean? So I would love everyone to kind of jump in and what you guys think about that. So we know we see it all around us, and we see it at work as well, you know what I mean, with other black male, you know what I mean, and they're even our brethren or friends, right? I just want to know, what do you think about treatment or illness, or they say it's an illness to us?
Okay, I'll start first so we can bring in enough controversy. I think there are a lot of different layers that are going to play to this, so I think there's going to be a lot of facets to it. In one sense, I think as adult males, we might, perhaps are underrepresented in terms of getting medication and the help that is required. On the flip side, I think our children are over medicated. We're easy to be diagnosed with ADHD and all those different things in school. So in one sense, they medicate you when you're young, but once you're an adult, then there's not as much opportunities. And we're particularly talking maybe right now here in North America. But I think one of the challenges that also adds to it is the narrative that has been since slavery is that the black man is, and you hear this thing like breaking the bull and all this idea, we're compared to these strong beasts of burden. And I don't think that narrative has really eradicated itself in our society in terms of the image. So, what I always refer to as the Superman syndrome is very, very prevalent for black men. So black men, both from within our own community, our own society, you have to always be strong. You have to be this thing. Our music puts off the persona that we're strong, that we don't need nobody. I'll take anybody. I'll shoot nobody. I'll stand to nobody. The whole thing. So everything that we put out there, everything that's being said about us is that we're strong. And when I say strong, not strong in terms of mentally, educationally success, but strong in terms of you can take abuse and then you can take the stress and the drama. And so much of what we take, and I put this a little bit on us as well, so much of what we take, we don't actually share, right? So I don't know if I can fully blame the doctors for not medicating when it's in reality how many black people, how many black men specifically even go to doctors. I think the percentage is so low that I couldn't expect a statistic to say that they do medicate us or not. But I think even when you then do get in, there is some things that you have to struggle with from that aspect of, well, you're strong, you can handle it, right? So that's why there's a lot to me in terms of how I view it. So I do agree that probably black men are the least diagnosed for mental health and issues and challenges, but I also think we're the least represented in terms of actually going to professionals as well to get that help.
So why is that though? Once again, I know you mentioned that it's just been kind of pointed to us to be like this. You guys are strong. Suck it up. Is it something that we just kind of marinate and we just went, okay, you know what? It is what it is. I'm not going to see a doctor, the whole works. Or is it, why is that though? Why is it that we don't want to seek help? Go ahead.
I think the reason why we don't want to seek help is because we don't see nobody older than us seeking help. So we kind of mirror our society at times, right? And when we go through things, we see how our elders handle certain situations. And at no point, I don't know if anyone here has ever seen their elder, a father, their grandfather, or uncle, peers are on the road that, older heads seek help. But what we normally see them do is like, sometimes they'll talk about it at a barbershop, or sometimes they'll talk about it like on the corner, where just a group of men get together and just discuss. They may not go in details of what they're facing or what they're dealing with, but they'll give you a brief synopsis of what they're going through. And then some people are like, yeah, I kind of relate to that. I've kind of gone through something like that. This is what I kind of did.
Right.
And there's a negative spin on us speaking with a psychiatrist or speaking with someone to get things off our chest, because we're told that, hey, sometimes they're not really good for you. They're going to diagnose you something different, or they're not going to give you the proper advice compared to an elder will give you. So I think that could be the reason why, where we don't see, there's such a small percentage of us that actually goes and speak with a doctor, a psychiatrist, someone that may understand more in depth than our peers or our elders.
I'd like to add on that.
Jump
so
in.
I absolutely agree with the gents that went before me. I also think there are like practical reasons as well. Therapy costs, you know what I mean? You need time off of work usually to go to a therapist, and most black men, their jobs don't allow for that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So just the practical, aspects of it, I think that's a big one. I also think within the black community as well, I'm not sure we've been equipped with the language to kind of deal with mental health issues amongst ourselves, right? It's very rare that you've heard of thugs on the corner talking about mental health. You know
right.
And yeah, I think a little bit more education. I also think just our history of what we have gone through as a collective, right? And the suppression of that pain in a society. One of my beliefs is that if you don't go through your pain, through it, not around it, not under it, not avoiding it, but through it, it'll be more difficult to help somebody else going through their pain, right? So if we as a collective have our pain suppressed, it's going to be very difficult for us collectively to deal with it. You know what I mean? Because when you raise your pain, it invokes a mind that I haven't dealt with. You know what I mean? So I'd rather not. So we then have constantly this big elephant, you know what I mean? And that's why those thugs in the corner that are probably hurting the most, that are inflicting the most pain, can't talk about it.
I think there's some good points, and I want to add to this because I'm just bringing all the elements.
Yeah.
Are also pertinent because in one sense, adding another aspect. I love how you said it. One, if you don't have a workplace that covers the benefits and things of that sort, and particularly when you look at the breakdown of the jobs that Black males will do, they generally may not be in spaces where the company is considering coverage for therapy, for an example, right? But then there are also the other element of that I don't think therapy has been put in a positive light in our communities, in our society, right? You mentioned before, Gems, that the idea of therapy was the barbershop. That was the only place that you really kind of got
Chop it up,
therapy. And in reality, the lessons you learned was to look outside the window when a hot woman was walking by and talking. But it really wasn't therapy to deal with the fact that your father may not be there, because that's another point is so many Black men have been raised by their mothers. And while we love our mothers and happy Mother's Day to them when it comes, there's the aspect that women and men handle things differently. Women may talk it over with all their women, but the man doesn't see a normal counterpart to have that. There's also the other aspect that may sometimes be a challenge to people is the people who are in positions, i.e. being those doctors and therapists, normally 99% of the time don't look like you. So how do I have a conversation of my Black experience with this white German therapist, for an example, maybe a challenge. When I went and took therapy, I was searching through until I found a Black woman who, was involved in church. So I knew that when I was sharing my thoughts to her in a safe space, she could understand some of my experience. Right? But the reality is there aren't a lot of Black people going into the position of a therapist or not going into those roles as counselors. So traditionally what has been that for the Black community has been the church. The pastors and the leaders. Those have been your counselors and therapists, if they're good pastors. And so one of the challenges to that, and I'm still advocating for having relationships with your leaders, but one of the challenges to it is what oftentimes becomes an answer in the church is when you have a challenge, pray about it. And while there is the truth of the need for prayer, there is also the need for conversations. So I remember when my wife and I, when we were still in our dating courtship stage, and there were times we'd be having issues, and I remember saying, man, there must be a demon in this situation. We need to pray about it. And she's like, I don't want God right now. You and I need to talk. And I remember the first initial thought was, well, she don't really love God like that. She don't really love Jesus like that. What do you mean you don't want to have a prayer? And as I grew, I was able to understand. No, the reality is some things don't require tongues on it. Some things require communication and real conversation. And so there is that aspect of it where church became our therapy for many people and for many generations because there wasn't the access to the help that's needed. I think there still needs to be a balance. I'm not advocating throw your church away and just totally go to the therapist. But I think we have to recognize that there have been some inherent challenges to our community. But at the same point, there have been attempts, I would say, at counseling and therapy in the Black community, particularly church and or say barbershops, hairstylists.
Right.
Just the problem is, did it go as in deep as it possibly could have when they weren't necessarily educated to do that? Perhaps not.
Right. So let me jump into that because you mentioned therapy. You went to therapy. Anyone here, have you guys ever been in therapy? Like professional help, like therapy, like... Yes, everyone. Except for me, sorry. I'm still working on that because I do have my brothers here. It's like, yo, go to therapy, right? And I could be that stubborn, like black male to be like, yo, what are you talking about? Or thug on the street, as they would say, be like, yeah, I don't need the help when you really do need it. But everyone seeked help or therapy. How did that go? How did that? We'll start here, G. How do you feel about that? And then we'll kind of go around and go from there. Why I know. John, you mentioned therapy, you did that.
Yeah.
Give me the pros and cons.
Look, I'll give you my experience.
Thank you.
You guys can, draw from that what you will. I went when my mom passed away, or my dad passed away, sorry. So he passed away in 2017. Aunt got married, had a son. Then my mom passed away. And when she passed away, I knew a lot has happened in a very short space of time. Right. I think it was a matter of about 4 years that lost 2 aunts and both my parents. Wow. And when she went, I was like, yo, I need to check in. My studies are in psychology, right? Okay. So yeah, you got a little bit of background and you kind of know what's going on with you. But until you get out of your head and start speaking to somebody, all of this muddled up the feelings and thoughts. Once you start articulating, putting timestamps on them, you really start making sense of kind of what's happening in your life. So I always say that therapy is talking to myself through somebody else. You know what I mean? That's how I see therapy. And I'd also say something a little bit controversial. So I believe in therapy, but I don't believe in, we should not pathologize ourselves as well. So absolutely, you know what I mean? Go to therapy, seek the help, whatever it is. But if you're going through something like depression, for instance, if all you're talking about every single time is depression, guess what's gonna be dominating your life? You know what I mean?
Right.
Sometimes you just need to action it. So it was great for me because I'm always kind of the sounding board for a lot of people with their issues and so on. Always been, I don't know why, but it was good for me to have a safe space where I could kind of speak about my thoughts and so on, and one of my biggest takeaways from there, what I discovered about myself is that I would overly think about things. So life was very cognitive, you know what I mean? Trying to, think about things and, this is what's happening to me now, whatever it is, but I'm not feeling, right?
Right.
So I can describe the situation and, whatever's happening, grief, depression and so on. But you need to go through it and physically be in your body. What are you experiencing? And go inwards instead of kind of going outwards. So for me, that was a huge takeaway from therapy that is still kind of applicable, in everyday life for me.
Wow. Oh, go. Yeah.
Oh, okay, no, you said to go on the...
Yeah, but he kind of talked about it a little bit first. That's why I kind of jumped with it.
Okay. So, no, I hear that. With myself, my therapy was discipline. And what I mean by discipline is parenting wise, right? Because as with us Caribbean or culture, all right, we naturally I know what my parents do. They would slap first. Beat first, and then ask their question. They don't know if they even ask the question. They just know.
Hands and
feet. It's just hands and feet. rope, everything you could think of. It was just what it is, right? So, like, I never dealt with that fully. Right. And then I became a parent. And yes, I was disciplined, but at times I had to catch myself, not going overboard, not losing control. Right. Because that's what sometimes we do. Like, we keep the built up anger inside us. We end up losing control sometimes. Right, and it comes out, and it may come out like when you're trying to discipline, then something else triggers you, and it's like you just keep going. Right. So I remember when I caught myself the last time, I said I had to go speak to somebody. Right away, I said, "Nah, I'm gonna lose control. I gotta go speak with someone."
Right.
And it wasn't a black woman nor a black male, but it wasn't a white person though. I actually got a Spanish person.
So jumping on that,
yes.
Why is it? Because you couldn't find one, or is it just the nearest one? Sorry, because I know you said same here too. Because John brought up a good point before, being like, to relate,
to relate,
right.
So with myself, and it could be because it was covered. I was fortunate, but mine's covered by my employer. Right. So they said you can go into sessions. I even try to bring my child into the session, like just to have that. Ooh. No, because it's not
That's a whole different topic. Bringing your kid into it.
No,
that's
but
crazy.
You do. So there's a things like like you said, if you don't go through it, I'm a firm believer that you got to go through. You can't go around it. You can't go underneath. You can't go above it. You got to go through it. I'm a firm believer in that. So I brought myself in first, and I had to have that discussion.
Well, first, right?
Yeah, okay. And like I had to like really. I went for a few sessions. Even so often, I may go and I'll call the person up and say, hey, and because I want to know, was I about to go overboard? Was I about to lose it? What can I do just to, if I'm going to discipline, I just want to discipline for the action that is wrong and not discipline out of anger, right? Because that's what a lot of us do sometimes. We discipline out of anger and not discipline because what the child did is wrong, right? So, and that's what that took for me. And I did bring my child into it, like, right? Just to make sure, because I want to understand that, hey, I'm not here to abuse you.
Right.
I'm not here to hurt you. But I am not your friend either. I am your parent. But sometimes, and this also comes down to households, and we'll talk about that in the marriage.
Right, we're going to jump into that. We'll make it quick. Yeah,
it comes into that too as well, right? And there's like things are just sometimes not aligned with parenting. Right. And that's what it was for me personally. So I find it really good in that sense. And like I said, the job didn't really have, at the time when I went, didn't have a lot of black people
therapists to go in there. Mr. I am.
Sorry. My situation was kind of different because I got a 2-part or 3-part therapy for my journey. First, it was because I work in social services, so I'm working with youth, and especially at the shelter system. You get a connection with a child, and sorry, you get a connection, and you try to guide them as much as you can, and sometimes you have to learn to balance. And especially what you were talking about, rooms about bringing things home and whatnot. So for me, COVID was the basically the opening for myself in regards to me realizing that I needed to talk to somebody. I would go home and I would be frustrated, and my wife will always ask me, what's going on, what's wrong? And I would tell her, and then I'm calm, what I'm saying? I'm at home, I'm at my sanctuary, you know what I'm saying, and then whatnot, then it go away, and then you go back to work, and the same heaviness comes in. But the funny thing about it is when you go home, you feel like there's a cloud in your home, and the rain is about to fall inside. Well, you just hear the rumbling and everything. But as long as your partner talks to you, the cloud is still there, but the rain's not coming down. You know what I'm saying?
We're going to get there. Now we're going to get into that.
So,
but no, that's good. Go
So what happened was, because of that, now I would go back to work feeling okay, heaviness, come back home. So one day I found out a close friend of mine passed away suddenly. I was on my way to Zane, aka Country Boy. Shout out to Country Boy. Um, so was on his way to his birthday, and my friend called me and he said, "Yo, your boy passed," and I had to go. I had to pull over the car, and for like at least what I thought was 15 minutes was like 45. I was just staring in space, and for a moment I forgot how to drive the car. So I had to wait and whatnot, and then it was just ongoing things, you know. So my friend dying, and then two of the youth that I was close with passed away through their vices, you know what I'm saying, drugs and everything like that. And when you have that happen to you, you question yourself, and you constantly question yourself, what could I've done differently? Even though 95% of the time you did everything you can, but that 5% is always the heaviest. So I think one time, I was going home and I was upstairs, and I turned and looked at my bed, and it felt like someone hit me in my gut, and then tears started to fall. And then my wife came to me, says, you know, Howard, what's on, Mr. I am, what's going on? What's going on? What's wrong with you? And I was just like, honey, for the first time, I don't know. I don't know. Says, what, like, what, can you talk? I don't, like, you know, she was worried, and just did not have the words. I just did not have it. And then the next day I went to my mom's house. Happened again. And, you know, my mom said, you know, pray about it and everything like that. So I talked to a friend of mine. They said they knew somebody, you know, do you want to talk about it? So I spoke with them, couple sessions, you know, and then also what is fortunate that at my workplace we do have like a grieving counselor. So they were talking to me, but I felt like kind of defensive, you know, because every time you want to ask, how are you feeling, or what's going on? What are you thinking of right now? And I'm saying to myself, someone that's close to me left me. And the last thing they want to say to me was they wanted to talk to me. And you're asking me to tell you how I'm feeling. And all power to her. She was really trying. But I was like, every time I would say it, I just remember the kids, my boy, the kids. If I was just 5 minutes away, if I was just a couple steps away, you know what I'm saying? So I end up going up north because I had to see if I could still do this job. So I had to be isolated from everybody, left my wife, went up north for a bit. And that was the main reason that I went. Not just for, yeah. Sorry.
You hear me? No, that's fine. That's when you decide to see.
Yeah. And that's why I said it was kind of three parts, because first it was the death of my best friend, then the kid's death, which work provided, and then when I went up north, I had to like be around like nature, be around things that is not easy to get. So the resources and everything like that. See how other people's living, because up north when you work with the Inuit youths, suicide is just like a button away. So it's like there's nothing here for me. So, and then, you know, I have to be around that, dealing with my own thing, and say, hey, like, you know, Howard, is you need to be something to them. And then for the fact that they embrace me and they talk with me, I was able to talk with them. So that was my therapy, because here I am in a place where I think it's beautiful, but there's nothing. And every day they wake up, it's like, do I even want to be here? So it was that type of therapy. It was just a hit of reality for me for that. You know what I'm saying?
Sorry. That's good because, like, as G said as well, too, and everyone here, everyone has their own way or different way of therapy or how they have to cope with stuff or deal with stuff, right? I haven't been to therapy yet, but what I've been hearing, especially myself as well, too, it's almost like in life, it's almost like there's that breaking point for you to be like, yo, hold on. What is going on? I need to go seek help, right? Okay, that's crazy. I'm only thinking is because there's one thing that happened to me, and I really wanted to, I guess, seek professional help, but I don't think they would understand.
What stopped you?
Because I don't think they will understand. Because it is something. Okay, well, we're here. We're talking. We're men. We're men. To be honest, we're talking. We're men here. And if my wife's listening. It's when our daughter passed away, and that's what hit me. And there was two, but that one really hit me, and I was like, wow. And literally, I shut down. I was just like, okay. So I pretend that it's not even okay. It's almost like I pretend like that's life. Just pretty much the same, that's life. You're born, you live through whatever, and you die. So I bottle all that up and just went, okay. Until this day, it still hurts, of course. Right? Like, I'm letting it out. Like, whoever's listening, it is what it is, right? But I'm just like, I need to seek help. And when I'm thinking and going through it, and I'm just like, but how would that person maybe understand me? The therapist. The therapist going through it. Like once again, I don't know because I didn't go to the therapist, right? But at the end of the day, I'm like, I think I would go back to that therapist. I'm just saying to the therapist and be like this. Okay, this is what I'm going through. The whole works, right? And if they, in a sense, don't go through what you got to say, remember, you have to go through it. Don't go around it. The whole works. How would you tell me?
So let me speak to that because
definitely no. That definitely because that's heavy.
Yeah,
so it's like you're telling someone, "Hey, listen, this is what you have to do with basketball. You haven't touched a basketball." What? What are you telling me?
Here's what I'm gonna say.
You watched it? What are you saying? You're a golfer?
No. Yeah, but no. Let me say it. Yeah,
go ahead.
It's a valid feeling, right? It's a valid thought, because if you're waiting for someone who's gone specifically through what you've gone through to allow what they have to say to be valid, yeah, you're gonna have to wait a long time, or you may never, because life is so unique, right? There's so many different experiences, and at the same time, and please understand what I mean by this. Yeah. The experience that you have is not unique in of itself.
Right.
It's definitely unique to yourself. It has a tremendous impact, and we're not denying that. But there have been so many people who have experienced what you've experienced, and there are counselors and therapists that are there specifically for that, right? Even as you said, there are grief counselors. There are people that have been trained, and just because they may not have experienced it particularly doesn't mean that they're not trying to help you and I love the way that you said it, it's me talking to me through someone else. I think one of the challenges for Black men and for all of us, I think one of the things we have to do is you have to stop looking at therapy as if it is your magic pill that's going to fix you. I know a lot of pastors say, and marriage counselors, and I know we're talking about marriage, so we'll come back to this point, but sometimes people come when they are at the end of the road, right? They come to therapy when they say, okay, me and my wife come in and we're like, listen, all right, sir, my wife and I, we want to get a divorce. And if you don't say something in this hour session, we're going to get a divorce. Well, at that point, just walk out. Save yourself the money you're going to need it for your divorce, right? Because there's nothing this person can do. I was listening to something. I like to listen to Dr. Gary Chapman, who wrote Five Love Languages. He's got a wonderful podcast, and he brings on a lot of different speakers. And he brought on one pastor by the last name of Silk. It talked about keeping the love on in your relationship. And he talks about, when he's doing counseling, he keeps asking the question of, what is it that you're looking to get out of this marriage? Because sometimes what people are either looking to do is to get connection, or they're looking to separate, not separate from the marriage, but to have distance. Right? If I'm upset with you, I'm angry, you're not doing the things, I want distance. I don't want to put the work in. And so sometimes you have people in a relationship, one person is coming and looking to get connection, another person is not giving that connection, doesn't really actually want that. And so part of the challenge for yourself, in terms of this issues, is when we have a lot of these issues that are unresolved, we make it more difficult within our own marriages to have the connections with the other person. Because if you're not willing to share it with that person, you're not willing to have the intimacy to share it with your own wife, your person will be wondering, why can't I really connect with you? What is closed off about you that you won't share? Sure, you're here, your body's physically here, the money's physically here, the bills are being paid, you're here, but I actually don't see into intimacy, right? Into me, see into me. I actually don't see you. And so what ends up happening is we become these strangers in the night, if you will. And you'll see this happen to a lot of men is as they keep going on through the marriage, what ends up happening is these issues don't get resolved. And so what ends up happening is you come home from work, you park your car in the garage or in the driveway, and you just sit there. Because in reality, you don't want to be home. Home may feel kind of, but if you let that happen for long enough, it would become a point where you're like, okay, I don't want to.
I don't want to be here. Yeah.
Not because I can really blame my wife for anything, but for whatever reason, this is no longer a safe space. And it's because the intimacy, the connection that each and every one of us actually needs, we oftentimes don't get it because we ourselves are not actually open to being intimate. And one of the challenges to it is intimacy, particularly in a marriage, is one of those skills that you don't have any real prior experience to this point, right? And I'll do this 10 seconds.
Yes, we'll get into that. Go ahead, finish.
Right? So everything in your life is teaching you that if you're vulnerable in intimacy, that you will pay a price. You'll be punished for it. Like, if you're in business and you're too vulnerable, people can recognize that. Take your business. When you're a child, if you're open, vulnerable, someone's going to make fun of you, whatever all that stuff is. And all of a sudden we say, boom, time to get married, be intimate, be open. And you actually have no real skills of that. Now throw in all the trauma that you get, and now you haven't resolved that. It's a difficult thing. All right,
we'll take a quick break because I know he jumped into it, which we're going to get into the marriage, the intimacy, all that other stuff, and the disconnect and the connect. But we'll take a quick break. We got to pay our bills, of course. So, guys, great, good to work.
You are tuned into CILR iLive Radio, Toronto. iLive Radio is a subsidiary of iLive Music Inc.
iLive Radio, changing the way you listen to radio.
Attention à tous les musiciens, groupes, associations, clubs et organisations qui représentent les styles collectifs de musique à travers le Canada. Le moment est venu de reconstruire nos genres de nations musicales collectives comme le hip-hop, le R&B, le jazz, le soul, le reggae, le gospel et plus unis. La Nation de la musique collective est une organisation à but non lucratif engagée dans le développement de la musique collective. Des adhésions gratuites sont disponibles dès maintenant. La Nation de la musique collective, une seule voix, la force dans l'unité.
So I'm just sitting there. Salete y que sabe ang resulta mucho. Ay, ay, kala nami. Ufika mongame, bakhala ngami. Manje nezitha seziswana nami. Ngathi bebangakholwa ngabanye kuthola bami. Kithi bangasehlala la. Yap, ngithola ba. Jiki jiki bangithole nomtholo wami. Wethola bami. Mongameli uyisdakwa. Kala ngizoba ngena magala. Amakiss namakosavana. Vele skole kulolo daba. Shibirim shibiram shibiribiram she. Iveli kubu, sipusi nyanga pay. So batelelo mongameli yo yo. Olele bala. Makweti bale yang. Mangtingo solo. Waiteti kala. Wetalo talanga. Nendo bakalanga. Bakalanga. Wetala bami. Olele bala. Makweti bale yang. Mangtingo solo. Waiteti kala. Wetalo talanga. Nendo bakalanga. Bakalanga. Wetala bami.
Koparege sisinyana sila tsedi la pisite mola kutacha Palu fraza wena untata Baby le majita kanlata Palu menake koparege sisinyana sila tsedi la pisite mola kutacha Palu fraza wena untata Baby le majita kanlata Ay 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 bande machwaleni Keba kupi ngambeni ngakwa peli Ay jwala ba mapeli Ay 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 bande machwaleni Keba kupi ngambeni ay jwala ba mafeli ole mbali akweti vale angting solo waiteti kali wekalo salam salam wakalam wekalam jala jala amen jala Baby le majita kanlata Malume naki koperege sisinyana Sila tsedi la pisite mola kutacha Malume freza wena untata Baby le majita kanlata Ay 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 bande machwaleni Vimba kupi ngambeni no makwa peli Ay jwala ba mapeli mani Ay 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 bande machwaleni Vimba kupi ngambeni no makwa peli Ay jwala ba mapeli Olele bala Makweti vale yami Mangtingo solo wami Waiteti kala Wekalo talangami Endingo bakalangami Batalangami Wetalabami Olele bala Makweti vale yami Mangtingo solo wami Waiteti kala Wekalo talangami Endingo bakalangami Batalangami wait till I love me.
stadium. Hey. Bad. Hello, bad no kido. Yes, yes, yeah.
It's the kids, baby.
Yes, yes, yeah. Bad no kido. Yes, yes.
Yes. Woo! Afro beats, man. I'm telling you, I love it, man. I love it. We're top of the hour. It's 8:09. Time is it now? 9. Jeez. Yeah, man. Sorry about that, man. I can't wait for my long weekend. But remember, listen to our show each and every Thursday. Please download the iLive Network app. Also, if you're looking for a place to do your own podcast or being an aspiring model or an artist, studio artist, please come down to the Collab at 226 Queen Street East. And also you could listen to our show on Roku. Yes. And check it out. Indeed. So we're going to get back into it right now.
So let me jump in. Yes, we are going to get back into it right now. This is actually good. You know what I mean? Once again, black men in here just chopping it up. You know what I mean? Being free. It is a safe zone for everyone. You know what I mean? I know Johnny Mozart just kind of left off of pretty much communication, relationship as well too, in the household, and having that connection, right? So the biggest thing is that connection. So for the men's here, you know what I mean? Once again, most of us is married, right? Gems, soon there, girlfriend, wifey at home, but not fully. But
two separate things, or
no. Yeah, it is there. You know what I mean? But so yeah. We're gonna kind of get a little deep into it, fellas. Yo, you know, the home life. You know what I mean? The married life. You know what I mean? I know sometimes a significant other, you know what I mean, could I want to say piss you off. I don't know. I don't like saying that word, but almost kind of like poke the bear just to see what you guys will do. You know what I mean? We do it too, but you know what I mean? I know it comes down to us, you know. I know my wife is going to kill me. Sometimes she gets on me, you know what I mean? And she and it's the little stuff. I'll be honest, the little stuff that gets me. And she's like, "Are you kidding me? Are you worried about the little stuff?" I'm like, "Yeah." You know what I mean? Like just close the washroom door. Something like that. I'm like, that irks me. You know what I mean? But it's stuff like that I take to heart, right? And as Johnny Mozart said about that connection, that communication, it's at a point where maybe I could just shut off and be like, okay, you know what, like I don't business, or I could be, what's that word? Vindictive. You know what I mean? Petty. You know what I mean? So I was just like, okay, well, if you're not gonna listen to me on the little stuff, then I'm not gonna listen to you if you said take out the garbage. You know what I mean? I'll be like, no. You know what I mean? I go there and just kind of, it's truth. You know, it is, right? So I just want to know, how can we work on, right, and build that, as John said, that connection or the communication. Why do we keep that in, take that hard, and be petty, vindictive, or just be like, yo, you know what, like, you really stress me out that, sad to say, we almost kind of treat our wives, right, like kids, as you can say. It's almost just like you I'm not saying you talk down to them or do whatever, but it's more of just like, you're just like, cha, like, move, like, or do what, you know what I mean, like, kind of brush them to the side, kind of thing, where we could really sit down and be like, yo, you're equal, let's talk it out, let's do whatever. Why do we kind of
You've
think
said
that
so
first.
much in there.
You know, it is a lot. It is a lot. So wherever you guys want to jump,
let him start with whatever he took from that.
Whatever you took from that. So
maybe the question about how do we build connection?
How do we build a connection?
Look.
And not be petty.
No. So what you're asking now is also really, I want to link it back to the point that you were making before the break, the intermission. So you spoke about your personal experience, right?
Right.
Not going to therapy and so on. And you also kind of need to question yourself, like your beliefs and, judge, because there's a whole conversation that happened in your head.
In my head.
On, right? And also, I think in the literature, when it comes to depression and so on, a lot of it does not cover how it or how it presents rather in black men, right? And it's been found that it is slightly different to, the groups that they have been studying for such a long time. One big thing with us is we'll get irritable, right? When depressed, so it might not look like everybody like down. You still gotta keep it going. You still gotta show up at work. You still gotta, you know what I mean? So you're still going to all of those places. You can't necessarily take it out on your boss. You lose your job, you know what I mean? So you come back home, and now the behavior that you were talking about now, right, is then kind of what comes to the fore, right? It's actually that depression of losing the kid, and I'll get to it as well. But if we speak about our experiences, for instance, I lost in the same way you did, also lost a kid early, right? But if we don't speak about it, it's like you looking at me like, why should I talk to him? He doesn't know anything. When you don't know, you know what I mean? So we should give each other opportunities. But how do we present in the household and in our marriages when we are depressed, right? And the effects that could have on our significant others. And they constantly try. These are people, obviously, that love us very much. And they try to be there, like, hey, man, do this. No, go there. They suggest a range of things, and sometimes you won't listen, right? And they might not get exactly what you're going through. And you ignore all of that, and they get frustrated, right? And their frustration over time then turns into, because there's no result, then they're kind of angry and frustrated at you, right? And now then they feel guilty that they're angry and frustrated when you are not at your best and you're in this situation. And that experience also kind of builds a little bit of resentment, right? So now then you feel this is not a safe space that I can come to, right? Because they've got this kind of resentment. Right? So that kind of locks you in even more, right? And then that intimacy, to the question that you asked, the intimacy then kind of leaves the room, and then it's two strangers now in the house. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's kind of that's how I
that's
think
the underlying how it could go up.
And the solution to that also. So if people change their view about like mental health a little bit and depression. So depression, we've all had the experience. You're watching TV, you're trying to change, something happens with the TV and you're trying to change it, but the remote isn't working and you're hitting the remote, right? But it's just not changing. That's how you should view depression. So sometimes it's not the image. You used to watch this TV, good shows, you've laughed, you've maybe cried, you've experienced like great games on it, you know what I mean? But now it's not showing a quality picture, you know what I mean? And it's really frustrating at that point. And you're trying to change a channel, but you can't. That's depression. That heavy cloud that you spoke about, no matter what you do, it's still there. And our partners sometimes try to change the channel, and they're so frustrated that they can't change the channel. So that, hitting the remote harder, but that doesn't work. And sometimes it's just reminding an individual and a person that there's nothing you can do at this time. Sometimes, let's say it's the weather, you know what I mean? And you have to wait until it passes, you know what I mean? And you'll get back to your old self. Don't think that a lot of guys that take their own lives, they think this is it. And they forget the history before the TV looked like the way it does right now. You know what I mean? So people need to remember that it has been good in the past. This is just a stage. And I don't know how long it's going to last, but you need to kind of stick with it. I'll just add one last point. But so in that, how we speak about mental health, right? I think even the word mental health is a problem for me.
Right.
So for me, we should be talking about mental fitness. You know what I mean? Sometimes we go into the gym and man, I don't feel like being here, but I'm here, and whatever, you chowed all your proteins, you drank enough water, you got enough sleep, all of that, but your strength isn't where it, usually is. You just don't know what's happening. You have those days in the gym, and I think in life it's the same, but it doesn't mean now like, you leave gym or whatever it is. You still kind of, you have different days of performance in the gym, but the point is to show up and also to do different things. So you don't do legs every single day or chest every single day. So spirituality.
Just like what the TikTok users will tell you.
Yeah, right. The gym bros. But switching it up, so the spiritual, reading, nature that you spoke about, talking to friends that we were talking about. So for me, if we would change our language, then it kind of gives us a little bit more agency and control in our own hands. Not, you know what I mean? So
I was going to say that, and I think a lot of things that you've brought up is so first I'm going to start calling you Dr. G, just because I think you've just dropped so much knowledge on people. One of the things that you will hear from therapists, and particularly therapists that deal with either marriages or relationships, is that we have to recognize that there is a lot of, use the word agency, there's a lot of responsibility on you individually. And one, we can't control someone else, right? Let's use the analogy back to the remote, where you're attempting to control this other person. I think a lot of frustrations come into relationships when people are trying to make their spouse like them, so that they don't have to make the necessary. You reduce the amount of adjustments you need to make. If you're just like me, I don't need to make enough adjustments. And the funny thing about marriage is we often find the opposite person. We get married and then we go to war, right? And so there are challenges because innately there is something in you that looks for where you lack in someone else. Somehow you have a strength in an area that I'm a little bit more weak, and that in of itself is attractive, because the reality of this marriage is that it should help us to move upwards. It should help us to discover and find and become our best selves. So it's not about trying to find a relationship with someone who you just get along with very easily. This sometimes becomes the challenge with people, is they come into marriages and they expect that everything should be natural. Everything should just be easy. You should just know how to love me. You should just know how to do this right. And that's not really what it is, right? You could be complete opposites. And I'm not saying that it makes it easy, but it is possible if two of you are committed to, again, the connection, the communication, the boundaries, the things that need to be there in a relationship. I think a couple needs to come together and discover and determine what your core values are going to be. Our connection as a husband and wife is a priority. Our connection with our children is a priority. The health, right. And then you just kind of go outward, right? And so what ends up happening is you end up putting the boundaries, because if something on the outer circle is jeopardizing something on the inner circle. I was about to say,
so when you have that outsider kind of.
So let me I'll talk about that, but I'll bring the bridge on this.
Yeah.
But the aspect of that is, if you both can be connected in terms of your core priorities and beliefs, and you build those rings, if you will, outwardly, then when you say no to something, it's also still saying yes to something inwardly. I can't give all my resource to go to everybody's birthday party, because the truth of the matter is my wife and I have not spent any time together building connection. So I can still say no to come into your birthday party for your child, right, when the reality is I'm saying yes to my marriage. Right? But sometimes people may not necessarily see that. So you just end up sometimes just doing all of these things, and the relationship and the connection may not be built. So this is why I say, whatever that will be for you, some people it's work, some people it's trauma, all those things, you have to find a way to come together to do that. Right. Now, let's go to the point that I was just talking about with boundaries. I heard somebody on an Instagram post early on in my marriage talked about that marriages should have guardrails. And she indicated that guardrails they're not there in a restrictive way. Guardrails are there to protect you from going to oncoming traffic, to protect you that should something happen that causes you to lose some control, that it keeps you from diverting into the lane into a head-on collision that would destroy you. And I remember taking that point and realizing I want guardrails in my marriage, because I know that as a man and as a person, you won't be on every day, right? You won't always know. You won't always see what's happening. And so you got to put guardrails. Like, I don't have, and I'm just going to be honest with you, I don't really have any female friends that are not friends of, like, you guys, my brothers. They're my sisters now.
Right.
Other than that, I don't have no female friends like that. Right. And it's not because I didn't used to when I was young and I didn't have what I could do in the street, but I realized there's no way I'm going to risk my marriage just to have friends because she's a female. No. Right? So when me and my wife are upset and angry, I literally don't have anybody I could text. I don't have a woman I could call to say, let me tell you about my wife or what the situation is.
That's too disrespectful.
But the thing is, people put themselves in situations. They don't put those guardrails. I have nobody that I could go and say cheat with, because I've put up guardrails that even if I'm weak, all I could do is sit in my house and play Madden if I wanted to. Like you know what I mean? There's just nothing. I've put that particular guardrail up in my house.
No, this is good.
No, this is good.
Y'all have your own guardrails. I'm just saying, for me,
you open up something. Yeah.
You made some great points.
Yeah.
Mr. Am, I know you're going to try.
No, yeah, go ahead. No,
I'm waiting for you. I knew you had it right there and you both said, go ahead. No, because at first I was like, and then I get what I get what John's saying. I really get it. I think in the beginning of my relationship, right, I had female friends, and there was a point in time when I told my wife, listen, I'm not giving up my female friends for you, because I wouldn't expect you to give up your male friends for me. They were here first, before me. So I respect until if they cross the line now, then that's another conversation. But I remember there was a situation where I said, I'm not going to give them up and whatnot. But what happened was, with that particular female friend liked me, and I didn't see that. So I was like, oh. And then as months turns into years, there are certain conversations now. Mind you, I still have my female friends, but they don't really hear from me that much. Yeah. And whatnot. Because for me, like I said, you are absolutely right, John. You're absolutely right. Because for me, I want to be in a position where I am so busy, I have no time for nobody or anything. You know what I'm saying? I go home, my sanctuary. Like, ever since I even do rental on my house, it's a new place for me. So I'm like, I'm not giving a toy. So I'm like, I'm on my new couch, on my PS5 that my wife bought. Thank you. And then I'm just at it. Or let's play dominoes. Let's do this. I need to be occupied my time. But
and can I tell you why? Can I tell you why I believe in these guardrails? I believe that my job as a husband and as a man is to provide security for my wife, right? I'll never forget, my mother said the number one thing that a woman needs is security, more than she needs love. And at first I thought, this is bonkers. What do you mean? Right? Because I'm coming with this Western mentality. It's all about romance and love and hugging her. But the truth of the matter is, while love is incredibly important, they actually need security. And security is not just how well I protect you physically because I'm strong. Yeah. But I learned a lesson early on, a number of years ago before we were married, that I did not provide security for her heart. And for me, guardrails were, how do I make it that my wife at all times can feel secure in her heart? Yeah.
I love how you said that. You said security for her heart. And when you said that, I'm under the impression that she felt like you didn't love her enough. So there was something that transpired that gave her that feeling. Wow.
So
and that's why it did something transpire in that sense. Why?
I'll say yes and no. And I think one of the things that we have to learn, as I was learning, I'm growing up, and I wish that I knew from a young age that your woman can learn to not necessarily even trust your ability, not even just in terms of how you treat her, but even how you treated the woman before her. In terms of how I handled relationships, or what I perceived was not relationships, just situationships. Right. All of these things actually are still teaching her a little bit of who you are. And I remember in opening up and sharing my experiences, and I had not done the work, had not done the therapy to even recognize who I was. I remember there was a time, she's obviously changed this, for years now later, obviously we would never got married. But I remember her one point saying, when it comes to women, I don't want you to teach our sons if we ever have children. And we were still dating. Right. And I remember that broke me, because also I was like, I had to contemplate, like, am I not a good man? Because you guys know me, I'm coming from a family of stalwart, like, bishops and, like, good men, right? Yeah. And I'm like, how is it that a woman says she would not trust me to teach any future sons about how to deal with women? That shook my world, because I realized how I've handled not just her, but women before. In so much that my wife, before we got married, she actually encouraged me to get in contact with women that I've had in the past and apologize and come to closure. And I never even believed in closure. I was like, yo, closure is something you do for yourself. They don't require me. But that's how I was thinking.
But your wife was correct.
She was. Absolutely was correct.
She was correct. I'm only saying that because I hear a lot of women, a lot of wives, say that in order for, because we have stages before we say I do. We have stages with growth, and we just want to have fun, and doesn't matter, Bishop, from where we come from. Men is men, and if we're not taught certain things, we explore certain things to find our own answers. Right. And when she said that to you, that's why I felt your pain when you said it was like a gut shot for raising son, because it was like she knows the heydays. And did you give the closure on those heydays? Because like you said, there were situationships to us, but it meant so much more to them that they didn't understand. So that's why when she said, make sure you apologize, I understood that completely. And I'm glad you apologized, because it makes, like, just men overall, makes us as better men. And that's what she's probably more than happy to try. That's what I said.
So when you were dating, how much?
We all waiting for it.
Just, how much did you disclose about yourself when you were dating?
Great point. Great question. So here's one of the things. I spent a lot of time in my life well before her. I used to be of this belief that nobody should know all of me, because then they'll have power over me. And I was a very, very private person. Even to my own family, my brother, sister could be like, hey, where are you going? I'm like, out. Out where? Out, right? And that mindset actually permeated so much of my life. This is one of the ways I knew that this was the woman that I wanted to marry. Is because not only did she challenge me to look inwardly at myself and who I was as a person, but who I wanted to be. But I had to actually look at myself and recognize, do I understand love and intimacy? And this is going to come back down to this therapy. Yep. One of the struggles I recognize is that I struggled so much with making connection with people. And I remember watching, I think it was a Netflix series called The Unabomber. Mm-hmm. And The Unabomber, he's talking. If you haven't seen it, it's crazy. But the actor in it, he's talking to who this Unabomber will be. And he asks them a question about, like, your life and something about his mindset. And the way that he described it was, I spent my life feeling like I was on the outside of the house, looking at it through the window at everybody else being able to have a relationship. And even though it's glass, I can't make it in. That's how he described it. And I remember when I heard that as I was watching Netflix, I said, oh my God, that is me. I'm actually very good at being in public spaces. I'm very good in terms of in the professional world space. I'm very good at being a great teacher and a great orator and doing all this stuff. But the problem is I'm connected to nobody. And I don't have that connection. And I realized because I had not learned to open up and to be intimate and to reveal who I was is what kept me separate. So when I was with this woman now, who's totally opposite from me, total different experience. She's from the lovely continent of Africa. She's got so many different things. How she views relationships and friendships are completely different from me. And I'm thinking I'm all good. And I realize I'm not open. What do you mean look at my cell phone? What do you mean look at myself? I had to sit down and have difficult conversations. And I'll be honest and I'll open up. I'm just going to be honest because I'm not going to lie to y'all. I remember sitting and sitting through the hard times, because just because you're open and intimate doesn't mean that you don't have consequences to being open. And that's what teaches people, again, as I mentioned when I left the break, is people have experienced consequences to being open from a young age, so you grow up throughout the entirety of your life thinking, don't be open. So you still got husbands and wives who to this day, their wife does not know the code to their cell phone, who does not know the context of your phone, who has never been through your Instagram messages. And they're perfectly fine to continue to go through this relationship. This week or last week at the weekend, I lost a friend of mine and a coworker, someone who worked underneath me. And I realized that life is short. Could you imagine you pass away and your wife has to look at your phone and wants to be able to contact, can't use your phone. Don't know what's in the bank account. Don't know your email address. Don't know nothing. When people die is when you realize, man, I actually really don't know them. If I ask you, what is the middle name of your best friend? But you don't really know. Like, there's so many things that we realize that we think we're having connection, but we don't actually. So when it came to now working with this woman of mine, I realized if I don't become open and vulnerable, I'll never have her. And so I remember having hard conversations. I literally, hold on guys, I'm going to say this to be honest with you. One time I had to write it out, my whole history. I wrote it on a piece of paper, sat in the car, we had hot chocolate, and I'm like, XYZ, as much as I could remember, XYZ, this girl threw the hot chocolate all up in the car, was angry, upset, walked off. It is what it is. But I had to still be honest and open.
So my thing is, sorry.
No.
This is great, but this is for everyone though. No. Honestly, is this now for being open? Is that a choice or is it because she asked?
It was a choice, and the reason. Go back to the scenario that I brought. Right. I realized I desperately wanted to connect with someone, and here for the first time, really was someone who wanted to connect with me.
Right.
We're trying to help Jen to get ready for marriage.
No.
Yeah, definitely.
No, and the reason I'm
talking to Mike.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, a lot of Jews are being dropped here.
Right.
What? You have never been open with anybody in your life until you met her. She's your complete opposite.
Opposite attracts.
Opposite attracts in a good ways and also in bad ways, right? So that's what I'm saying. But
clearly, this is a good way.
This was a good way. But even like, I know that you said that she challenged you, but like, what else? What else that for you to say, you know what, I'm gonna lay it on the line, because that's what you pretty much did, right? Not worried. You weren't worried about the consequences, because you knew there were gonna be consequences, right? You knew that the chance you could have lost her, potentially, right? She challenged you in a way to say, hey, you gotta apologize, you gotta do certain things, you know. But why did you listen to her? Right, and that's that moment, because we always say in life that, you know, I wish we did this, I wish we did that, right? maybe I should have listened. Maybe, but what made her that special to you
Great
to
question.
say, "Hey, I'm doing all of this right now"?
So you bring up a good point in terms of opposites can sometimes attract, and opposites can be positive and negative. I think there's a difference when there's opposites that cause toxicity, and then there's opposites that cause for growth. For me, with her, our opposites, our differences caused growth, right? It caused me when I took a look, and one of the challenges that I challenge to all men, but one of the things that I'm very good at is not being stubborn. I'm not a stubborn person. And it was one of the greatest compliments that my wife said to me is, John, I thank you for not being stubborn. Because the reality is a lot of times we get wrapped up in our ego. Our ego's wrapped up in this is who I am and who I'm going to be. And I remember, I taught this in Sunday school and taught this in lesson. There are 3 things that will ruin any person in terms of going there. And one of those is egos, right? Entitlement is going to be, and emotions. If you have emotions, ego, and entitlement, doesn't matter what you do, you're going to ruin it, okay? And I determined in my life that I was not going to allow ego to ruin what I could clearly see was an amazing woman. She was unlike anyone else. I'm not saying she was perfect. God knows there's a lot of work for her to get, but unlike any other woman, this woman made me better.
Yes.
There were so many other women in life that were good, and people would say, this matches you. This would be perfect. I'd had women that were absolutely submissive to me. I've had women that wanted to be this. They got all the education. And when I talk with them, and eventually I would get bored or I'd be ready. But for this woman, it was like, no. This is something special that's not going to come around. She herself wanted me to be with other people, to be like, I think this other one would be better for you. She, her own self. And I could be like, right? But I think when you can recognize the good, amazing traits in somebody, even if there are weaknesses, and be willing to work, her, unlike anyone else, I was like, no, I cannot lose this woman. And now from a spiritual side, I know for the fact when I knew I loved her is one day I was praying, I was in my prayer room and I was just praying, and I felt God was just pouring out blessings and was going to pour a blessing on me. And the very first thought I had as it was happening, I said, God, whatever you're sending to me, send to her. And I was like, I never prayed that before. I would want this all for myself. But I could not comprehend in that moment that I have a blessing that I wouldn't want her to have. Now, I'm not saying that I'm perfect by any means, but to get back to the guardrails, I said, I can't allow for anything or anybody to come into what I have deemed important. And her heart was important. I wanted her to know that I was different because I didn't have a track record to prove that you're different. You don't have a track record to now say, no, he's a good man. He will be loyal to me. He'll be a good husband. You got to prove that somehow.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No. I'm just blown away. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because some of the things you said, I said that about my wife, and she has been like a support system for me. And one thing I will never forget, we were going back and forth and we were arguing, and I was gonna leave, and I said, "Yo, I'm gonna leave." She stopped me and she says, "Before you walk out that door, know this." And anybody that knows my wife presents differently. But when I tell her story, it's like people are like, no. People are like, I don't know. But they're like, she says, before you walk out this door, just know this. I want you, but I don't need you. And I looked at her and I was like, what? And she says, I want you, but I don't need you. If you leave, it will hurt me. But I'll be okay. Because if you're meant for me, it will be. So when she told me that, something in my heart stopped. And I was about to turn the knob. And I closed the door and I remember I went to the couch and I was quiet. I didn't say anything. I was quiet. And that's probably the first time I was humbled by a woman. First time I was humbled by a woman. So I at first when you were talking, I was like, why should I expose so much of myself? I mean, I'm open. Like, I mean, she has my phone, she has this, she has a, but soon as you said the guardrails and the purpose of the guardrails, I was like, I do it too. I see myself doing it too, because if I'm not with you guys, I'm home. You know what I'm saying? So like there's certain things that I see, like things that you presented, and at first when you were talking about it, I was like, there's no way I could do that. Like I there's certain things about me I don't want her to know. Like I don't want to expose that. But for the fact that you went through a process, and this is somebody that you wanted to be with, you took the most vulnerable thing for you, and that's trying to be open to access her heart. Yeah. And I give you props, man. I was like,
so I appreciate it. And let me say this. Let me say the last thing I'll
go ahead.
Last thing I'll say is one of the reasons for it as well is I never wanted that any woman could ever come to my wife and say something.
100%.
She could be looking the fool in any way.
Right.
Nobody could come to her and be like, "Oh, you know what I did?" No, she would know. She's prepared for it. Her heart's been protected on it. I'm not saying it wouldn't sting in a moment if that was the potential. I'm just.
I think it's funny because I believe every wife kind of says to be like this. Yo, listen, I don't want no woman coming telling me like where you're about or be like this. Yo, I see rooms on the street and then she's just like, yo, you told me, yo. Yeah, Mr. I am something like, you know what I mean? I'm pretty sure all women, other way around.
You don't want no guy coming to you telling you about
of course not, right? And it's funny, right? And it's funny you said about I seem like that's the topic, the guardrails kind of thing. Do we feel, and this is for everybody here, does your wife, your significant other, women, whatever, know that you're trying to protect her heart or put a guardrail up to be like this, yo, I'm trying to protect my core? Because sometimes in a marriage relationship, the whole works, you put this up there to be like, yo, like, this is what I believe I want to protect my family. I want to protect me, my family, the whole works. And they probably don't see that, right? They'll see some of it, but they don't understand that. So now, are you having that conversation to be like, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I want to do this. So for just an example, because you brought it up where you said the birthday.
100% she knows. I specifically don't tell her. Like she, if I say guardrails, she understands what I mean by guardrails immediately. She knows what it means because we've had that conversation. Like these are guardrails. Like I put guardrails like, you know, and again, we all have our own relationships. We got to do what we want to do.
Of course, everyone's different.
Like, I trained myself that even with a sexy woman walking by, I immediately avert eyes. And I avert my eyes. I don't allow it to go back. I'll never forget, we're going through the mall one time, and there was some sexy woman or something, sexy girl, whatever there. I went to the mall, and I averted my eyes. I walked out. I opened the door for my wife, and this older lady was walking behind me. And my wife just like, man, I have an amazing husband. Because if ever there was a woman for you to allow your eyes to linger on, it was that girl. If ever. That means even she recognized, yo, man, that's a bad girl. And the older woman smiled, was like, yeah, that's a good man. Because I'm not even allowing that. I'm not gonna have conversations. Honey, how do you think she looks? Now that's just me. That's just me.
No. I'm not. No. No. We will hear from me. What I'm saying is like that's different. Yo, that's different. The reason why I say that's different is because I'm not saying like women could be jealous of other women or the whole works, but. For example, and I love this, you said something very simple, but it speaks volumes. You said you're like, even if we don't have to have somewhere to go to like a birthday party, that's simple. That's nothing. That has nothing to do with looking at a sexy woman, cheating, doing whatever, or my whereabouts. Just be like this, yo, listen, this week we're not going to this birthday party, whatever, because you know you're putting up guardrails, trying to pretend. I want to connect with you. I want to have that intimacy with you, the whole works, right? Does she understand that? Would any woman understand that? So remember, one thing about us, and one thing about us, no, watch it. One thing about us is because you mentioned when you said something about, I can't remember when you said like ego and the whole words, right?
Emotions,
and emotion, ego. But you said something else along that line. I'm gonna make this. Don't ever mistaken that with logic, because men think logically. And think about it. And logically, and logically, and other people words, and logically, other people could say that's ego. But we're like, hold up, how? When we're thinking this way, and we're not thinking, ego to be like, no, just because I say so. We'll be like, but logically. This is what it is. So when I say when I'm going back to the guardrails, when you're saying, I want to protect her heart or protect family or have that intimacy of just something being like this, we can't go to this birthday party because, let's save the little money. I want to spend time with you and stay at home because it seems like there might be a little. Would they understand that? And I'm talking about everyone. I'm not just talking about obviously your wife. Yes. I'm talking about even my wife, the whole works. Gee, jump in. Sorry. Everyone jump in, yo.
Man, there's so much. I've been listening. Just a theme I picked up with you. It seems like if you in your mind think somebody else won't understand, you have a tendency to not then bring it up, which might, can I say, it might be a barrier to connection. Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? John, there's so much. Firstly, know thyself, right? I think, yeah. So you are saying your history, you developed certain patterns, whatever it is, in your behavior with the opposite sex, and then you had to put up guardrails to not, kind of relapse. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Right? So I think then that's the responsible thing to do. And I think, one, know yourself. And sometimes we didn't talk about it, but sometimes guardrails. So it's not always the opposite sex, right? It could be even your homies, not no Diddy stuff, but no Diddy. Could you possibly no Diddy? But what I mean, what I mean. Sometimes you have friends that are not conducive to your marriage, right? They might be married. I've got friends that are not married, but are very conducive for the life that I want to build, that I'm building for myself, and the marriage that I want, the family that I want. There are friends that are married, but the way they think about marriage, whatever, is absolute garbage. 100%. So some people have patterns that they've developed through their dating phases, and nothing has changed. But their wives, they pretend as if they are a certain thing, whatever it is, right? That they've changed, but they haven't really. And they don't put up those guardrails for themselves. And then when they get around the homies, they're like, "Yo, let's go get some." It's like, nah, you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's one thing. And what I've noticed in my group of friends, from early on, those that get hurt early on, by a woman and don't deal with it. A lot of them, we don't know how to deal with that early heartbreak in high school or whatever it is, early varsity. Then, because you suffered a blow from a woman, the validation that you then seek subsequently is woman-based. So, almost getting another woman, conquering her, whatever, sleeping with her. That's kind of where you get your validation, right?
Would you say that's what you kind of learn, in a sense? Because you brought up a good point, Mr. G. You said, heartbreak, right? And some males don't experience it early on in their life, and the ones that do, they look for validation, right? Even the ones that when they get older, they still look for validation because then they don't actually mature at that point, or they'll go back into a stage that they thought they got themselves out of. And like for myself, I remember they always used to say the best way to get over someone is by being with somebody else. So would you say that's more of a learned behavior? Okay, that's more like the older heads telling you that, and older peers telling you that, compared to like someone that like going to someone else and saying, hey, what should I do? Should I take time for yourself and to know thyself in a way, right? So that's my question I'll be asking here to you on that.
Yeah, 100. I think even if it's unsaid, right? This is what happened. What, man, she playing? Let's go to, this. I got this girl. You know what I mean? Let's go drinking, whatever it is. So they resort to these. Not all vices are bad, but they revert to drinking, going out, whatever it is, excessively. You know what I mean? Let's go sleep with random girls, whatever it is. And it's like, I'm not into that, people starving for something. And a lot of people chase calories and not nutrients. You know what I mean?
Say that again. That's a gem. Press that one. Press that.
But just friends-wise, woman-wise, I know you got good nutrients there. People are starving for something, and they just, because they're starving, they just want to put the first thing in their their belly. So that's one. I also wanted to touch on the point you made, right? So for instance, like with the woman or whatever, that fly woman that was walking past, it also depends on your history with your woman and the kind of woman she is. Sometimes it's like, hey babe, look at that, damn, those are, you know what I mean, like she's got a donk or whatever it is, and you guys can crack about it because that's the nature of your relationship. So I also just wanted to say, he's doing what works for their relationship, you know what I mean, and who they are. But it's not a copy and paste.
Correct.
It's
not a restriction that she placed on me.
Right.
I actually identified it, and I placed it on me in order to ensure her of where my heart and my mind, my thoughts, who I was as a person. Because her as a person, in reality, she probably would be perfectly fine. She doesn't have a major issue with that in of herself. Yeah. But it's an indication that, okay, no, he has changed like his way of being. Yeah. Right. He is growing in this area, or what's of value to him. She can trust me when I say you're the most beautiful woman and you are the one that gets me going. She can trust that. She's seen that. She now has years of body of work, if you will, of that. But it wasn't something that she said, oh, I'm a jealous type and I want to see your phone. Never at all. She was never that person. I did that for me because I felt that this was what I needed.
This is crazy what you just said. Each one of us. This is quick. You know what I mean? You later, James. Because this is for the married men.
Yeah, of course.
When she said yes, do you feel like she said yes to everything, and knowing that you are the one, flaws or none, do you truly feel that yes is yes and I want to be bond? Or is it yes because of the whatever you presented before? Meaning when I said presented before, it's just like the flowers and the bells. You know what I mean? So because I'm just thinking about it. If Johnny Mozart is going through whatever, because he had to change to make sure like his women understand and know that she is the one. Right, same thing. Myself, I have to change myself. You know what I mean? You mentioned like the boys' whole work. I have to disconnect from some of the boys. I'll be like, yeah, I want to go party. I'm like, yo, I can't carry on like that. Yo, I'm my family. I'm my wife. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So that being said as well too, when you're up there at the altar or wherever, exchanging vows or rings, the whole works, and she said, yes, I want to be with you. Do you fully feel that she really wants to be with you no matter what.
Cool. So
I'll tell you.
What a question. No, good question. So when I got married, back at home, what do they call it? Dowry, right? Dowry. So pay the whole dowry thing, whatever. Flew fam over. They say yes, then they are essentially welcomed back at home. So we have like a ceremony and so on. And at the end of the day, after everything happened, after the traditional marriage, sit down with one of the elders, and I said, "Yo, man, I'm going on this journey. If you had one piece of advice or whatever it is, it's the old man of the family." And he thought, and he's like, when you do get married, you have certain perceptions about a person, right? But there are things that you don't know as well. Right. And when you say yes to each other, you need to be prepared for the unknowns that come, So in asking that question, when she said yes, absolutely, she said yes to what she knew then. But there were also unknowns, just like you also experienced some things that you didn't quite know thereafter. But I believe when you say yes, it's to say, listen, through the thick and thin, ups and downs and all of that, we're doing this thing. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I will say that for me, yes, I felt yes, but I will be honest that there were times I was unsure of how strong her yes was, just because I knew that there is so much more for us to understand as well, and I just know my wife and how she's thinking. So while she's yes to this and she would love me and would never leave me, I think one of the major differences, and I'll say this for people getting married, one of the challenges and one of the major causes for divorce, I think, in terms of overall, we're not just talking about like the stats, finances, is a lot of people get married with the idea that I love you, and the whole like yes, death do us part. In reality, it's I love how you make me feel, and people go into a marriage thinking I want to feel this way, and as long as you make me feel this way, we good. But if that changes somehow, then they're really out. And this is why you see so many people's marriages and relationships, because ego, emotion, and entitlement. You feel entitled that you should have this. You feel this is who I am, and how dare you play me for a fool, and this are my emotions. These three things ruin marriages. And people are expecting it to feel like roses, and they expect it to feel great. But the reality, as we've said, is marriages go through ups and downs. There are times you want to walk out that door. There are times we do not make sense, right? And what, as he said, I love how I am said it. Like, I had to check my ego for the first time. My ego had to come on down because I was about to lose the best thing in my life. My emotions are high, which is just fueling my ego, and I feel entitled that I should be allowed to walk out because I'm a man. And thank the Lord, she said what she had to say that got you to realize all these three things have got to come down. No, you're not entitled in a marriage to be petty to your wife. No, you don't have a right. I heard someone says, when you decide not to show love to your wife because you're upset, who gave you the permission to do that? Right. If this relationship, if God is supposed to be in this, and God is giving you this person, did God give you permission? 100% of the time, God did not give you permission not to love your wife. The scripture actually says, husbands, to love your wives and be not bitter. Because even the Bible knows that at times women will make you bitter. Well, now I know I don't have a right.
Did he tell the women though?
well, right? Right? And I could go biblical, you know me, anytime, right? But the fact of the matter is, when we are getting ready to be married, you have to come to the actual conviction in your heart that I'm going to choose to love this person irrespective of how they make me feel. I want to marry them. I love them, not because they love me, but because I love them. So even when she stops, if she stopped loving you, that should play no part in whether you love them. Right. That's what the scripture says now. Love the church like Christ loved your wife as Christ loves the church. Meaning that as much as we don't actually love God and we want to do our own thing, he is so sacrificial because of his love for the church, not because of the church's love for him. So when I decided I'm going to say yes to my wife, it was a very emotional time for me because I knew what I was committing to was that if for any reason I hurt this person or things don't go right or she's sick or whatever, I am committing. And me and my best friend here, when we were growing up, all of our lives growing up as young men, we used to always say, no matter what, we are never divorcing. We said this as kids growing up for years. Doesn't matter what. When we get married, we'll never divorce. And I took that to be hard.
Took that to heart.
Took it to heart.
Don't
matter.
It don't matter what.
Doesn't matter what happens. I will not divorce my wife. Now, some people say it's not toxic, but in reality, in regards to what real love is,
the reason is and this is just us.
She might divorce.
She might divorce you, but it won't be.
But it won't be me. But it's because not only that, because we have father figures, family figures too, who still with, right, their wives, right, and we've seen it with other people as well too. And I strongly believe, and I hope I'm not wrong, for some reason for black men, when they decide to choose a wife or God bless them with a wife, I don't know what it is. I feel like we really hold on to that. And this is the reason why I say it, because I'm not saying, hey, we're all gallus and carry on in our date, but I told my wife, I'm just like, it's something where I cannot treat my wife how I treat other women, like before the whole world, like that's they're not the same. So when I marry my wife, like it's up here, and she will always be up there, and I would treat her like that. And as we said with kids, it's almost just like, I don't believe in divorce. I told her that. I'm like, I don't believe in divorce. If you want to carry on and divorce me, I guess, sure. But I'm not going to divorce you. So we will have to figure out how we're going to make it work, right? And when I mean make it work, not to make it work just to tolerate each other. Make it work to fall back in love with each other, communicate more, have that connection than what we had before. Because when I pick a wife, I pick a girl. So you know how before we talk before we pick a wife, we always say, yo, that's our wifey and this and that. And once again, I'm not saying we're gallus, but it's almost like we have our wifey, and then there could be girls before the wife, where we actually really said I do. We always almost like go back to the wifey because that's the wifey. Now when I'm saying married, yes, I do, that's my wife. So I strongly believe for men, when we choose a wife, I'm hoping the women and wife out there really understand that, like, yo, like, no matter what, I'm going to ride or die with you. Like that, I don't want to say ego, and I don't want to change it up, but I'm really saying that I love you. I pick you because that's it. I really want to ride with you. This is what it is. So I hope they understand that, not to be like, take it lightly, to be like, oh, we just say married and say, yes, I do. And then and all that jazz, right?
I'll just say very quickly. I can see some women also rolling their eyes like, yo, not all men. And yo, absolutely. I've seen it myself, you know what I mean? So absolutely the dudes that are very intentional about the kind of marriages that they want to have, the kind of families that they want to have, I think you'll see that, you'll see that in their conduct and so on. But there are also dudes that are, man, they're out in these streets, man. Amen. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I know you were just like saying black men, so I was just kind of qualifying it.
No, go ahead. No, I was just to answer your question. I knew it was a yes, confirm, because I worked on it. As she could tell you, I worked on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, my interaction at first wasn't the greatest, but I recovered. and whatnot, and yeah, you know what I'm saying. And the only reason why I could confirm that like it was a yes for me was the outer interference that was happening, and the people who were supposed to be my biggest supports end up being my haters. So, for example, how I wanted to propose to my wife, I had somebody come to my house and then spend time with me, telling me why I shouldn't propose to my wife this way, because you will get a no. And to me, it was insultive because when you're looked upon a certain way in your group of people, they always saw you as, oh well, Mr. I Am was a nice guy, but he was never serious about anything. So now you're getting to that level now where here's a girl, and I'm big a shout out to my wife. When I walk with her, I usually have mans turn around and look, and they say, yo, so Howard, that's you? That's you? And I said, like, what do you mean? Of course. Like, was there any doubt? You know what I'm saying? But because they see you in a certain light, people try to test that. Like I said, I had somebody question the way I wanted to get married. And then I had someone tell my wife that Howard is not the guy for you. I should be the guy for you. And this was somebody,
like Steve Harvey.
This was somebody close that I introduced my wife as, like, say, yo, this is like my best friend. Not knowing that he felt that way when he saw her. Say, like, a man like me is supposed to have a girl like you. How come he did? You know what I'm saying? But even with that though, for me is
that's your best friend.
Well, not like a close friend.
Yeah, but for me, it's your call, yes. Yeah. And we and you could say I use that loosely, because I was always trusting. I was a very trusting person, so because I'm thinking that if I have you in my life, there's no reason for you to hurt me. But then when I knew I had something special, is when all the interference of all the things I thought was going to come at me, I thought it would be the devil himself. But the devil brought people that was close to my heart to say, Howard doesn't deserve that. Mr. I Am don't deserve that. Why is he? What's so special about him? He's not serious. I know him. So that's when I knew. When I was up in the altar, I made sure to look at everybody and say, hey, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, go ahead, James.
Well, Rooms made me almost kind of let me forget the original question I wanted to ask. The way how we was, I was like, oh. But no, I have the question I have for the married men. Right? What is, because you're going to be 7 years, you're going to be 3 years, or you're at 3 years right now. You're 2 in a bit, so you're going to 3 years. You're going to be 5, and you're on going to 9. Going to 10. No, going to 9.
I'm 9 now.
You're 9 now. Hitting 10 this year? No, 10 next year. So you're 9 right now. So we're talking about right now. Has there been a moment, early stages, middle, somewhat going to later, where you all felt like you're gonna almost like falling out of love? Like, how do you sustain the love or sustain the connection? Because I always hear, right, from married people that's probably the hardest thing to do is to I don't know if it's to recreate the love, but to sustain the love.
Ooh.
I get
you want to go in.
This is a
the
tough
longest one to the shortest.
This is a real one for me. A very tough one. I live between 2 countries. My wife is a professional this side. I do business outside of the country as well. And for like distance, we will be apart. You know what I mean? And communication, there's different time zones and so on. Communication will wane, and as we know, communication is the lubricant of love. And man, we don't always communicate the way we're supposed to as men. When you're going through difficult situations, man, like COVID, what it did to businesses, my time away from business, what it does, people steal from you, for instance, if you ain't there, you know what I mean? And then that brings flux into your life. There's a lot of things you're trying to manage, and also there's kind of guilt, like, oh, you're not with the fam, you're not the fully the husband that you'd want to be, being there every day. Same with the kids. So the connection is really something right now I'm trying to figure out. Much easier when we're in the same house. Much easier, when we're here, when there's that pillow talk. I speak multiple different languages, but Tswana and Zulu. So in Tswana, when you say two people are in love, you say bautlwana, right? And in Zulu, you'll say bayazwana. Both mean they hear each other, right? When two people are in love and they walk in, they say, hey, those two people hear each other, And a lot of the times when we fall out of love, we're not hearing each other. That's when the voices get louder because you ain't hearing me, you know what I mean? And when you're close and you spend that time, that pillow talk, that's how you can whisper on the pillow talk, you know what I mean? So yo, man, I'll be taking notes as well, but I really believe like nothing can substitute time together, like close time together.
Just to be quickly, I guess for me and my wife is that you try not to take things for granted, or try not to take your significant other for granted. And there's times you slip into that because of everyday life and work. So when you go home, you see her and she says, "Hey, how you doing?" You're like, "Hey, what's up?" and whatnot. And then she'll try to snuggle with you, and you're like, "Yo, just keep cool, just give me my space," kind of thing and whatnot. But then she'll get up and she'll make you dinner, and she'll place it on you, and you look at her and you're like, "Jeez," like. And this is why I like, and you're speechless. You know what I'm saying? You're speechless. She then she'll say like, I noticed, I know.
The languages you told?
Bayazwana.
Don't try that on your Jamaican wife. You think it's gonna work? She don't know what you're talking about. Okay.
So
when that happened, he's like, "Oh, that sounds nice. I'm gonna try it on her."
Yes.
Go ahead.
He's thinking of Mr. Am right now.
Yeah. So and then there's other things that she'll do, and then she'll come back again, and say like, "How's your day?" And then, you break down your day, and then she gives you a hug, and then when she's she'll say she'll have a dream, and she'll tell me that she had a dream that I left her, and it's not until she turned around and opened her eyes that she see me that I was there. And I said, "Babes, I'm not going nowhere. Like, I mean, I go to work, I come home
like the whole morning."
You know what I'm saying? But it used to, and that even that the dreams used to get me shook because I'm like, what am I doing? Who's calling her? Like, who's saying stuff? But I realized she told me one night, she says, "It's not bad that I had these dreams because it shows me that how much I appreciate you, and I don't want to lose you. So if I could be in a world
Come on,
that that like that is just a dream, that I don't lose it, and to wake up that I know that I have you, then I'm good." And I'm like, "Listen, babes, I'm telling you this from now, you're not gonna lose me. You're not gonna lose me." You know what I'm saying? So and then on top of that, your relationship in terms of friendship. You know what I'm saying? I mean, make time. Have date nights. We haven't gone on a date night, so that's my bad, babes. But I'll change that. But I mean, make sure you also have that kind of relationship where you guys could just have a conversation, like two like best friends, and have an understanding where you want to go, and how you what you need to do to get there. You know what I'm saying? It's great to be lovey dovey and everything like that, but if you don't really have a good relationship, friendship with your significant other, everything else is kind of lost in the wind, kind of thing, because you need that person to tell you to be real and say, "Yo, smarten up. You know better than this. Here's my expectations of you. What are you gonna do?" Sometimes you need that. So you need that friendship. And then, just I think for us, the last thing I would say is that we started to pray together, looking for churches to go, you know what I'm saying, and or like be open to spirituality and everything like that. And and from that time on, I've been at peace, man. So I mean, shout out to Mr. I Am again.
You wanna go?
No, you go.
Okay, yeah, I'll go. We'll go there. I don't know if you guys answered this question.
I'm going.
Then you guys fell out of love, like, but you guys beat around the bush and then go straight. But don't worry, I got you. No, the reason why I say no, because me personally, I know yourself, love it. I know myself. If I found the love, I probably would have just went, this can't work. And what Johnny Mozart and me kind of went, which almost kind of contradict ourselves when we're saying, like, I don't believe in divorce, right? I don't believe in divorce. But me, when I really say I love you and I want to marry you the whole works, I'm always going to be in love with you and love you. That's just me. Now, this is where it's a little bit of a kicker. Does she know that I love her all the time? Probably not, because I hear it sometimes. So this is where I need to work on, which you mentioned, the love language and the communication of her, that she will understand and know that I love her. So put in that work. Really put in that work that she will understand. I always love her. I never fell out of love from her. She's the one. Till death do us part. I love her. I know I do. Right? Thank God she gave me a child as well too. So even more love and abundance, right? from that, right? So no, I never fell in love with her, but I really do have to put in work to cater more to her love language, that she will understand and be like, wow. There shouldn't be a doubt, in a sense, from her to be like, does he really love me or not? Or he loves me sometimes, but don't. It should be, we're good. That's what I need to work on.
Okay. All right. So we got just a few minutes. So let me just quickly say a few things. No, I've never ever fell out of love with my wife. I think when most people say that statement, that what's really hard to keep in the marriage is love, I think what they actually mean is what's hard to keep is or what's hard to keep is affection. Those things, can be a little bit difficult in a relationship, and I think it requires work. You can love somebody and not like them, like a child. You can love this child, but man, you really don't like them because they just the total opposite of everything you feel like you've poured into them, and they're going to different operation. I think a lot of times people go into marriage, and as I said before, people are expecting to feel the same way, and the reality is marriage will change you. You could be living with somebody for donkey years, and the day you put that ring on, and you guys go back to the same house you already live in,
a different
Sankiaguan, as we say, right? It changes, right? And there are aspects to a person that you'll never know until you're married. I think where the challenge is, as you rightfully touched on, learn the love languages of the person. And you should also learn their apology languages, learn your apology languages as well. These are all things you can go online and find. But doing that and finding a way to keep the like and the affection in a marriage is where the challenge is. Because it's easy to get swallowed up in the day. It's easy to get swallowed up in the responsibilities. And I love what all these brothers have said. They're all different aspects that can make it difficult. But if you can continue to work and do stuff that will foster affection and that like in your relationship, then you can have a very long-lasting loving relationship. But if you're trying to just focus on love as if it's some romantic comedy, you're setting yourself up for failure. Definitely. You're not going to always be like, oh my gosh, wow, look at the air you breathe. Let me bask in the ambiance. That ain't going to happen all the time, right? So find ways to continue to build that affection and keep that affection alive. And I think that will help a marriage to be
right. So you got all the tips you need, Gems? You good?
I got a lot of gems that came my way.
Yo, people, this is good. We went over. Yo, brothers, thank you once again for coming out, spending some knowledge. You know what I mean, sharing it with all of us and some of our listeners too. I think one of them were trying to call. You know what I mean, but it wasn't going through. That's why I was trying to connect on my phone. But yo, this was good, brothers. Thank you very much. Before we kind of head out, you have a shout out to anyone or whoever you want to shout out to, your name. Well, of course, I guess if we're on that, we already know, but go ahead, G.
Shout out to my beautiful Eritrean wife, and to my unborn child that's coming on the way in July. So shout out to them.
Shout out to my beautiful baby. And we got 2 beautiful babies too.
Hey.
Yeah, man. I love you always.
Yeah.
Wicked. Shout out to Mrs. I Am. You know what time it is. You know what I'm saying?
It is.
Let's get him free.
Yeah, you know?
Release him. Release.
Yo, shout out to the family. Shout out to everyone here. Shout out to everyone who's listening. You know what I mean? Shout out to EIP and EIP family. You know what I mean? Gems, hurry up, do your shout out. We have like 30 seconds.
30 seconds. I'm going to say shout out to everyone. Know that you can always call in. This is a safe space. Mental awareness is real. Mental health is real. Mental fitness, everything is real.
Fitness, yeah.
Love thyself. Like Mr. G said, I've always said that to myself, but it's good to hear others say it. You know, that's it. Splash 2024.
Wicked. Once again, there's Mr. Green out there. You know, we miss you somewhat, right? I guess I was coming from Mr. I Am, somewhat, but you know, we still miss you. But yo, like the next upcoming shows is gonna be wicked. You know, look out for the previous show before us, which is DJ Damager. You know what I mean? Friday nights we have Blueprint. You know what I mean? But yo, definitely EIP family. You know what it is? It's your boy Rooms.
Boy, Mr. I Am.
Wicked. Have a great night, guys.
Wisdom. Na simba no masimba dangote.
Everybody, It's the kids, babe. Sibanike platinum way. I push it landing, keep it number. And don't sit and find the shiny number. It's shiny number, kuse. I push it fresh to la gala. I chico pegele potoza. I funny ninja sebanita. I keep it diamond to la gala.
We hope that you've enjoyed the EIP experience, a podcast for the people.